In the gaming discourse today, it seems like sometimes whenever people talk about Xbox as a publisher, they want to just basically wave their hands and make it seem like Xbox is this publisher that can be comparable to maybe EA or Ubisoft. It's very interesting. It's like somebody walking down, say, a financial district of a big city, and there's a skyscraper on one side, and then there's just a regular building on the other side, maybe, say, a 3 or 4 story. And they're like, well, they're both, multi-story buildings, so the skyscraper is just like this story, this 4-story building out here. I'll show you exactly what I mean. Wait for me, please. This audience member, shout out to you, MH Gaming AD, you said console war is over. Xbox is now a third-party publisher just like EA and other companies. Now, ladies and gentlemen, believe you me, I've actually seen different versions of this kind of sentiment and comment in the last 24 hours on my videos. And a lot of them say things like Xbox is just now a third party. Xbox is just now a third party. I've asked some of them what is wrong with being a third party. I haven't gotten a response. Some of them also ignore the fact that PlayStation is a third party, but PlayStation is not the kind of third party even that Xbox is. And the reason is simply because of the sheer and gargantuan level of publisher that Xbox is that none of these other companies can even come close to or even touch. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Let's go on Steam and let's look at some games that are associated with Xbox under the big publishing banner. All right? So if, say, we look at a game like Halo, we look and see all the information. Steam gives it all to you, and you see the publisher, Xbox Games. When you click that publisher and go to that publisher's, page, you will realize something very interesting. The publisher has all their games listed here. Now, when I scroll down all these games, right, you see Sea of Thieves, Gears, Forza, Age of Empires, Hellblade, and so on and so forth, and I get to the end, are you going to tell me that these are all the games associated with Xbox? No. Because if we go back on Steam and check again, we'll realize that there's also another set of games that are associated with them that also, showcases what Xbox is as a publisher, but is not published under the whole Xbox banner, but they've kept things separately in a sense, but still own and have access to it. And that will be all of the Bethesda games right now. Hence, if you look at everything that Bethesda has done, even though it may not be under the Xbox Game Studio banner, but under Bethesda, it is still associated with and still belongs technically to Xbox. You can call it Microsoft, whatever you want to do. It's all in their gaming arm. And you can realize that all of these IPs already dwarf EA in terms of their scale and in terms of their size. And if you want to look at revenue, all we got to do is punching, say, a game like Call of Duty, and you'll realize that Activision, or there are at least 24 Call of Duty games, some of the highest revenue games, and will probably continue to still be more. And if you notice, with their revenue source and their scale, you can also go in and type Blizzard's, Diablo, where you're going to pretty much be able to see what Blizzard has cooking, which on Steam, it's only about 2 games. They have Diablo 4, they have Overwatch, as a game, and then that's about it. Their other games, they have them on Battle.net. So if you can say that this is like EA, then EA must be probably one of the biggest companies that has ever done this game publishing thing out there. But they're not as big as Xbox. Xbox basically has that ginormous aspect to it. So when you flip your hand and you just basically wave your hand and say, they're just a publisher like EA, you know that that's absolutely not accurate. Now, are we saying that this makes them a special kind of party publisher? No. But what it says is, even other publishers that don't have as many games as them have to or need to put their games on other platforms. There is no amount of consoles sold on one particular side, be it Xbox, PlayStation, or Switch, that can sustain a lot of these publishers in terms of if they go exclusive. Square Enix, who is a third-party publisher but chose to publish solely on PlayStation with some of their games, learned that lesson, even with a huge number of consoles sold. So if even Square Enix, with just a handful of games, had to run back to their own bosses, their shareholders, and tell them, hey man, our games did not meet, profit expectations, how much more Xbox that has access to at least now, going on almost 100 games, need other platforms to be able to stay sustainable with the amount of, games that they have? It's just common business sense. Why would they want to go ahead and be exclusive by any metric or any measure and ruin their business when exclusivity has not served them well. And even before they acquired all of these different IPs, they were already enjoying the benefits of being multi-platform by publishing on PC for many years and making a lot of money. You see, a lot of people try to basically blend a timeline. They say, oh, Xbox is just a third-party publisher like EA, but you have to understand that Xbox was a third-party publisher like EA, or let's just say at the time, Focus Interactive level. I mean, if you guys really think about it, like, in a sense, yeah, they were maybe in some cases closer to EA in the AAA side, but they had a lot of small studios with AA games that you could compare to what Focus Interactive has going. And that time was all the way back in 2016. They were selling their games on PC at the time, and they were making money, and they stayed sustainable in their business. Why? Because the consoles could not carry them. PlayStation themselves are also showing that the consoles cannot carry them, so their games are appearing on PC as well. So now that Xbox is basically the kind of publisher that has access to, moving 200, different games, and possibly as anthologies and sequels and other continuations of those stories continue to move out, they'll need a pipeline to pretty much keep them, as a sensible business. It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all for either PlayStation or Xbox to be, publishing their games on a single platform without a pipeline to move those games to other platforms where gamers are looking forward to playing them. This is why when we open up the PlayStation Store, it just showed that gamers are willing to play a game if you're willing to come there and meet them. And this has been a very interesting revelation, because what this has done is it's flown in the face of a lot of people who were mocking Xbox for taking IP to other gamers to make money, acting like even they themselves on PlayStation, their own console, could sustain their own games. If it could, why do we have two remasters of games that are basically kind of new, or in the case of Last of Us, has already been remastered multiple times, showing up on the PlayStation platform? So PlayStation is basically telling you that, hey man, doing business and keeping your game in one place and locked to one ecosystem is not going to serve you. You got to get those games out, or you got to repackage them and sell them to the same people. So again, when we revisit this comment that just basically waves their hand and says Xbox, is a third-party publisher just like EA and, other companies, we got to ask and say, what's wrong with being a third-party publisher like EA and other companies? You're creating a sustainable business for yourself. And then they went on and said Xbox games selling well is not an issue on PlayStation. It's not an issue for Xbox on PlayStation, but it is creating competition for PlayStation. To say it's not an issue is very funny, because Xbox, according to all of you, is their direct competitor. Did you all simply forget the claims that PlayStation fans had been making for a while? Come on now. You said if Sony games don't sell well because there are more games, because of Xbox games, that's a good thing because games have more competition. Who is it a good thing for? It's a good thing for Xbox. It's a good thing for gamers. But remember that this is their direct competitor, and you guys said anything that they did had to be seen in the light or the shadow of PlayStation. So now it's not going to be so easy to divorce them and say it's not just it's no longer a big deal. I'm sorry, because the entire gaming scene has bound these two together by some twisted fate that you can't just unwind with a simple comment on a YouTube channel. And then you said also Sony doesn't care if Xbox games sell well on PlayStation. You sure? Because they get 30% of their cut. Okay, but Xbox themselves is holding 70%. So if you're trying to tell me that PlayStation doesn't care, that in its lineup of games where it could have earned 100% from games like The Last of Us Complete Edition, Days Gone Remaster, Ghost of Yotei, right? Yet its competitor is not only farming and getting 70% from here, but also when they turn around, they get 100% from people who buy the games on their platforms here. And if those people choose not to buy it, they get subscription fees from them here. And somewhere, somehow, you can't find these PlayStation games. So they have to repackage them for you. And you say that PlayStation does not really care. I don't think that that's actually the greatest assessment here. Because I think what may have happened here is that Xbox more than likely played a fast one on PlayStation. You know that, right? Let me give you something very interesting. So, in terms of the games that were probably going to be going to PlayStation and such, right? Maybe PlayStation thought that exclusivity was going to be their play. They thought Xbox was going to go exclusive. And Xbox, probably just didn't say anything and understood that its studios already had access to PlayStation development kits, right? They knew they had a pipeline. Right now, Bethesda already has a pipeline to publish on PlayStation. If you notice, I just showed you Bethesda as a publisher, right? If you even go and look here, you'll notice that the publisher, let me see, is Bethesda Softworks. It's easy to just keep things as they are because now Bethesda can simply just follow their pipelines and publish on PlayStation without any hindrances. They don't have to reapply for anything. They got a straight shot in there. And so now this has become some kind of a overcrowding of their platform. And yes, they may earn 30%, but now their competitor is in a position where they not only earn 70%, but they earn 100% on their platform. They earn another 70% on Steam. And then they go ahead and earn subscription fees from their own platform based on those same games. It's 4 different methodologies to making money. I guarantee you PlayStation is concerned. They understand exactly what's going on. When all of this is all said and done, if you downplay it as saying that PlayStation doesn't care, well, let me go ahead and ask you another question. As the generation rolls around, MH Gaming HD, and you notice that PlayStation doesn't have as many games as Xbox does, because they don't, and Xbox is investing in all these studios and all these IPs, which console platform or which platform are you going to dial into? Are you going to go into a platform that doesn't have any games or any value proposition that it offers you compared to the other one? Or are you going to consider an Xbox ecosystem entry to basically play your games? So what you think PlayStation doesn't care about today, I can guarantee you they care about it tomorrow. Thanks for watching the video. Peace out.